Dzień dobry and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who I just made laugh with my hello and good morning. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Was that hello and good morning?
It was just good morning.
Oh, okay.
But it was a friendly way of saying hello. Start the day right.
The cynic in me thinks that maybe it's really difficult to say hello in Polish, and so you went with good morning instead.
Genuinely, it's just more fun to say good morning.
Okay.
Dzień dobry. It's got a nice ring to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, we are here.
And to be fair, I'm sure we've all had those situations where you say good morning to somebody and it's 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
So really good morning can be used whenever.
Yes. Also, we're recording this
Very
rather
late.
late.
Yeah.
There's very little chance of anyone hearing this before it's morning somewhere.
Yeah. Literally, unless they're in the room with us right now, I'd say.
Maybe next door. So this is our Group H preview. The Polish hello was because Poland are the first team in the group.
Yep.
Who else we got in Group H, Taylor?
We have Senegal, Colombia, and Japan.
I'm going to say most weirdly interesting group.
Agreed.
There's no overdog and there's no underdog. Just a bunch of regular-sized dogs.
What's an overdog?
Overdog is just someone who's definitely... It's the opposite of an underdog.
They're so good they can fly?
Yes,
They're just up in the sky?
one.
All right, gotcha.
That's the one.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But I think then you've got lots of talent, lots of contrasting styles, and lots of question marks that I think makes it a very... It's the type of group that I saw people say, oh, this team's definitely going to win it with all four teams, and I saw this team's definitely not going to do well with all four teams.
Shall we start there?
Sure.
With Poland. Polska.
Yep.
Poland's nickname is, and I'm the brave one who's going to attempt this, Bialo-Czerwoni, the white and reds, which is basically the colours of the flag, the colours of the jersey.
Yep.
But that's not much of a nickname, is it? I think their nickname should be the Interceptors.
Okay.
Poland are the Interceptors because their style is essentially they play maybe a 4-4-2, maybe a 3-4-3, depending on how Coach Adam Nowalka is feeling. But they do not come and press you. We talked about a lot of teams doing various styles of press. We'll talk about a different one later with Colombia. Poland are not going to come press you. They're going to sit off a little bit. They're going to try and wait for you to make a bad pass or a mistake. Then they're going to intercept, and then they're going to come at you with all their firepower.
So is that one way of saying that they're just going to be compact in your mind?
No, because it's not an everybody sit deep type situation. It's just a sit in your shape, maybe behind the halfway line, roughly. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll crowd the midfield a little bit and try and pick off your passes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the key to picking off the passes, don't worry, we'll get to your nickname soon,
okay.
is midfielder Gregor Krychowiak. He is the chief interceptor. He's going to play defensive midfield. You may remember him from his Sevilla days. He was currently stinking up the Premier League with West Brom. Didn't have a good
Prior
year.
to that, Leicester City. You forgot about that one too, didn't you?
I totally did.
Yep.
I totally did. But he's very, very good at reading when the bad pass is coming, stepping to it, and then being very brave with starting the counter-attack with a really good outball. So I'm going to go right in with my early prediction.
Wow.
Prediction number 1. Poland will score a goal that starts with a Krychowiak intervention.
Okay.
Interception, excuse me.
Okay.
Interception.
I was gonna say
It's
a
form of intervention.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
A Krychowiak interception.
So basically he wins the ball back, plays it for the forward, and then eventually they score, or maybe immediately they score.
Yeah, very soon afterwards.
Okay.
Only other thing about Krychowiak, very talented as he is, he does play a nice long pass, nice diagonal balls, smart passes out the back. He still should not be wearing number 10.
No.
It's above his pay grade, and yet he somehow holds on to the number 10 jersey.
He should be wearing a number 8, and maybe that's it.
Maybe an 8 or a 6. If he really wants a 10-ish type number, he should be going 19. Something that adds up to 10. That's all I give him. All right, so my nickname is the Interceptors because of Krychowiak's role. What do you think Polska's nickname should be?
2006 Ivory Coast.
That requires a very specific set of knowledge.
So drawn into a strong group that might not necessarily favor them. Ivory Coast had Argentina and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Somebody else in there too. Maybe Serbia?
Yep, definitely Serbia, because Argentina scored that million pass goal against them.
It's a pretty tough group, and I would say this is a difficult group. World-famous goal scorer with capable, but not necessarily superstar supporting cast. But then there were players...
Didier Drobski.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. And then potential future superstars on the roster. Yaya Toure was, I believe, like 23 and playing for a Greek team at that point.
Interesting.
I think Poland has a few of those as well, who are players who maybe we don't know right now. We might know in 2 to 4 years.
Okay, so let's start with the big names then.
Sure.
Because you said they've got a star striker leading the line, similar to how Ivory Coast had Didier Drogba in 2006. Who's that star striker?
It's Robert Lewandowski.
It's Robert Lewandowski. He's a very talented man.
He's a very, very talented man.
He may be the best striker in the world. I'm not willing to go all in on it. I'm going to slightly weasel word it. He's arguably the best striker in the world.
Don't do that. Say something or say nothing. Don't do that. Yeah, I think he's certainly in the top 3, then, if we're going to go that route. Mm-hmm.
You joined me.
In fact, I'll go Brian Clough, and I'll say he's in the top 1, because I think he is. I've seen some people arguing that he hasn't had very good form or that he hasn't looked as sharp as he always has.
Those people should be quiet.
They should be, because I believe he scored over 40 goals in all competitions this season. And I genuinely think part of that is just that Bayern Munich weren't as exciting to watch this season from a neutral standpoint, that is, because you had Jopankas come back in. It wasn't really the kind of strong season that maybe we've seen in seasons past.
I mean, they did okay in the Bundesliga.
But what I mean is that it wasn't that sort of like, wow, they're destroying everybody, I have to watch that. Like, it was sort of like, yeah, they're destroying everybody, but it's kind of expected, and they're not really going to a next gear. So I'm kind of familiar with Bayern. Is that what I think a lot of people approach that team with, and so I think they're approaching Robert Lewandowski the same way.
Okay, so they're sort of not giving him the full respect for his 40-odd goals.
Because it's just like, at a certain point, a world-class player stays world-class, and unless you...
take him for granted.
Unless you suddenly find yourself in those annoying... Is he the new, like, Messi, Ronaldo? Is he going to break that mold? Like, that's the only level.
Let's talk about what Robert Lewandowski is.
Sure.
Because I made a point in my research to really think about, what is Robert Lewandowski good at? And I started making a list.
Okay.
And the answer was everything.
Really?
I made a list of basically everything. He's good in the air, right? He's a big number 9. He's great on the ground. I think he's deceptively fast. Maybe not over a long distance, like he's not going to win a 100-meter sprint, but he is very fast in terms of quick acceleration over a short space. So he gets to the ball first. Great at holding the ball up. But you play the ball into him, he's going to bring it down and hold it up. Great at running in behind. He's sort of got it all. And also he's got that predatory thing where he reads what's going to happen, makes good runs. He'll meet a header at the near post. He'll be sneaking in behind to, side foot an easy chance. Robert Lewandowski does it all.
He does it all. The issue in the past for Poland has been...
Two-footed as well.
But the issue in the past for Poland has been who gets him the ball and how does he get those opportunities. Because, he's great when he has the ball and is doing things with it. But if nobody is playing it to him, if he's just kind of isolated up top, which has been the case in tournaments past, then that's when you have the issue.
There have been games where you're sort of looking up the field at Robert Lewandowski thinking, someone get the ball to him so he can do something. But you said that in a way that maybe you think that's not such a problem in 2018.
I would say maybe. Okay. But I would say there's a player to keep your eye on. It's the player that I have to move. Not necessarily a young player, although he's 24. It's Piotr Zielinski.
Yes.
24-year-old attacking midfielder, plays for Napoli. He's the playmaker on this team with the vision. He's going to be their conductor, and he's going to be the one that I think is going to be maybe taking it from Krychowiak, playing it into Robert Lewandowski. Lewandowski scores. But I think a lot of the service and the opportunities for Lewandowski will be rooted in the work of Zielinski.
So, Zielinski, as I understand their formation and their shape, he could end up playing behind a striker as a number 10, or he could end up playing as a wide attacker, but he's going to be playing somewhere in this team, right? Zielinski's going to be involved. My notes on him, I was really impressed with his through balls. I think he might have X-ray vision.
Really?
Yeah, because he seems to, whatever angle he's facing and however he's running at a defence, he seems to be able to know exactly the angle to sneak it in behind the back four. And I think that's key when you've got Lewandowski waiting to pounce on it. That's a partnership I'm super excited about.
I agree.
Me and all the Polish fans. And Taylor Rockwell.
Indeed. Because I think that's the thing with this Poland team, is that if you just go with the kind of surface level analysis, maybe you don't think that they're as strong. Maybe that's where a lot of that speculation about, they might struggle with this group comes from. But in reality, I think Zielinski is going to have a very good tournament. Then there's another gentleman, Karol Linetti, who I was not familiar with at all.
So he will probably partner Krychowiak in central midfield, right? And to me, it looks like he can hit a pass the same way Krychowiak can, but he's also got the legs to burst forward. He's got a burst of sprinting from the middle. Sorry, I think I'm stealing your point.
No, not at all. He's left-footed, great vision, as you said. But I saw a lot of footage of him playing with Sampdoria, where he plays
his name again, level. Karol Linetti.
He's 23-year-old playing for Sampdoria. And the thing that I noticed a lot with him was the step and win, where he kind of steps into people, does that little hip check, wins the ball, but then in the exact same move, turns with it, and then goes the other way.
I like
so
that.
He's winning the ball back, but then transitioning into attack very quickly. So I think those two players really will help Poland get more opportunities than they have.
Yeah, I think you've just doubled down on my interceptors point as well. Linetti is one of the interceptors. He can get in there and take it off you.
All right. Well, one maybe goal scorer we haven't talked about, or theoretical goal scorer, is my first prediction is that Arkadiusz Milik will not be the new Igor Akinfeev. That's my goal for him.
Because one's a goalkeeper and one's a striker?
No, it's because there was a period of time, I think I said this with the Russia preview, where every single time we talked about Russia in a tournament, it was always, in my mind, this is going to be the tournament where Akinfeev, really everybody looks at him and thinks, this guy's got to move. He's got to go to a new club. He's going to be this exceptional performer, and he kind of always underwhelms on the big stage. Milik, I think, had
By underwhelms, you mean drops balls?
Well, there's that. Yeah, I don't think Milik will necessarily do that, but I think back to 2016 and the European Championships, he didn't have a very good tournament because we were both very excited about him. He was one of the early entrants into the scouting network.
He was.
But I remember him not being very clinical in front of goal. I remember him missing a couple opportunities. And so I think that maybe hangs in the minds of people, as well as the fact that he essentially missed 2 years. He's on that Briolembolo situation.
Ligaments, right?
I think you're correct, yeah.
Two separate, really bad ligament injuries. So he's lost 2 years of his career, essentially. Yeah.
And so I don't think he'll be a starter. Maybe if they go with that 4-4-2, maybe he's the other striker. But I think we'll see him get minutes. I think he'll come off the bench, if nothing else. But I expect to see him get a goal or two and maybe just kind of keep that profile where I think it should be and not drop down to the, oh no, he's made a calamitous mistake level.
He also plays for Napoli, right? Yeah, so Napoli this year, a very successful year for them, even though they didn't quite win Serie A, was founded on 2 Polish players.
But founded on is an expression.
Involved 2 Polish players. So I have an Arkadiusz Milik prediction.
What you got?
Involves Arkadiusz Milik. A Polish striker will score a left-footed goal from outside of the box.
All right.
This is because Robert Lewandowski is 2-footed, can shoot with right or left. Milik is very left-footed, right? And he likes a shot from distance. You definitely see him shape up at the top of the box. He's always willing to... He hits these shots with a tiny bit of bend, but mostly power. You know what I mean? It just bends a bit, but it's going top corner or bottom corner. So a Polish striker will score a left-footed strike from outside the box. So it's 100% chance it's Milik or a 50% chance it's Lewandowski.
That noise you just heard at home, listeners, was hedges being bet.
Bets being hedged?
Yeah, I tried to flip it around, but it didn't really work that well.
I'll also say this. If there was an award for best posture at World Cup 2018, Arkadiusz Milik would have it nailed on. You think about him, he is so upright.
I mean, his name is Arkadiusz. Like that, I think right there...
What does that mean? Like he's posh?
I know it strikes me as like what the name of an old time military general would be. Yes, General Arkadiusz. And I think is maybe a character in a Hamlet play about warring generals. I could be totally wrong on that one. Excuse me, a Shakespeare play. That's not Hamlet. Woo. There we go. Yeah. In fact, maybe I'm confusing that with Coriolanus. That could be. But either way, it's a very fancy, in my mind, rigid-sounding name. But he is not a very rigid player, I would say.
He is not. So, as you mentioned, worth underlining, definitely Lewandowski. And then it's possible Milik partners him as a second striker. It's possible Milik plays underneath him. It's also possible Milik doesn't start at all, and it's Zielinski underneath Robert Lewandowski. But basically, Poland has a lot of attacking players to choose from.
This is true.
Yeah.
Defensive players is maybe where the issue might lie for Poland. So should we talk about their defense?
Yes. All right. So I'm always very excited about Michael Pazdan, right? You know I'm a big Pazdan fan. Pazdan stan. But I was very excited.
Pazdana fan, by the way.
Pazdana fan. I was most excited about Pazdan's partnership with Kamil Glik.
Okay.
So I was very excited as we got ready to do the research for the previews about rewatching the Glik-Pazdan partnership in the centre of Poland's defence. And the basic deal was... Glik's the better player, right? Glik's the guy that got a move to Monaco. Glik's slightly classier. Pazdan, I think, still plays in Poland.
You are correct.
And it essentially, the partnership seemed to me that Glik would give Pazdan an assignment to go rough someone up 10 yards away, and Glik would stand there and wait for it to happen. And they had a good thing going, right? It was like a good buddy cop movie. There was one with a shaved head, one with hair. You could tell them apart. It was all good. Until this week, Kamil Glik, Poland's best defender, tries a bicycle kick playing soccer tennis in Polish training. Damages his shoulder. Kamil Glik is out of at least the first 2 games at this tournament.
So here is the interesting wrinkle with that I read just before we started to record. So as you said, the indication from the national team doctors has been that he is potentially going to be fit for the 3rd game, maybe the 2nd game, but definitely the 3rd game. Then it came out, I believe, like just before we recorded, that he went back and had conversations with the Monaco doctors as well to make sure that they were... Because I guess if you have a serious injury like that, maybe the big club wants to have a little bit of say. They cleared him completely.
To play?
So it makes me wonder if maybe there's a chance that the national team doctors are thinking, well, he's not going to be ready. He's not going to be ready. And then you see him in the starting 11 for match day 1.
So it could be a long con.
It's possible.
Glick and Pazdan right again.
But that might also be wishful thinking. Wait, so does that mean then that and it's worth noting, if Kamil Glick isn't ready to go in the first game, then it seems most likely that it will be not Kamil Glick stepping in there, but instead, I got my roster in front of me now. Jan Bednarek of Southampton.
That's what I think so too, yeah. So he doesn't always start for Southampton. He's not a regular at Southampton, only 22 years old. But he did get a start the game after Glick was injured. He started alongside Pazdan, I believe. So I can't remember which team it was against, but he got some minutes already. It seems like he is the choice of coach Adam Nawalka. Yeah.
So here's my other prediction, is that Daryl is going to try to make Pazdan happen. And I don't think it's going to work.
Like fetch.
Yes, exactly. So the defense for Poland...
Quit trying to make Pazdan happen.
The defense conceded 14 goals in qualifying. That was the 31st in Europe. It was not a good result. I think it was like the 4th best in their 6 or 7 team qualifying group.
Okay.
So that was Denmark, Montenegro, Romania, Armenia, Kazakhstan. So still conceding goals but winning. So it was a lot of 4-2s and 3-2s.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that Daryl... there are going to be times when they concede goals, and I think Daryl maybe will try to explain away Pazdan's role in it, or it will be Pazdan will make a decent defensive play, and Daryl will be way too excited about Pazdan.
Here's what you don't understand about my Pazdana fandom.
Yep.
Right? It's not that he's the best defender in the world. It's that he's a trier. Right? So
I get that.
I embrace his mistakes. He is rough and ready, as Michael Pazdan. He has the shaved head to prove it. He is rough and ready. He'll make mistakes. He's not some fancy superstar. That's why I like him.
I understand that. But see, you're playing into it right now, because there is going to be a time when he just wins a header, and Daryl Grove is going to be like, see, cheers, there it is right there. It's Pazdan doing Pazdan.
Can we talk about why Poland are first up in Group H?
Sure.
They're part of why this is a weird group, right?
I thought you meant for a moment, between you and me, and I was like, because that's where they are in the group.
Well, exactly.
I see what you've done here. Yeah.
Right, Poland, Senegal, Colombia, Japan.
Yeah.
Poland are H1.
Yep.
They were the seeded team in this group. If you look at all the other seeded teams, Russia's an outlier, but they're the host. But otherwise, it's Brazil, Germany, teams like that, right? So... I know the answer, so I'm kind of asking rhetorically. How are Poland the seeded team?
Well, they won the Euros in 2016 and the World Cup in 2014. No, the answer is that I think since 2016, I think I'm correct in saying they've only played one friendly.
They gamed the system.
Yep.
They gamed the FIFA rankings. They looked at the math that goes into the FIFA rankings and they said, give me a calculator. I think I've got an idea.
All right. So explain what that idea was.
So, okay, very brief version is the FIFA rankings are calculated. You get your points according to an average points from the games you've played. You get more points for World Cup games, for European Championship games, for proper qualifiers. You get far fewer points for friendlies. So let's say a World Cup qualifier is worth 500 points if you win, and a friendly is worth 200 points if you win. If you take an average of those two games, 500 and 200, you average 350 points, and then that determines your FIFA ranking.
Right.
If you don't play the friendly, you just lose the 200 points, you average 500 points.
Yep.
That's how Poland gained the system.
And it worked.
Yep, because when they pick the seeded teams from at the time of the World Cup draw, the highest ranked teams get to be the seeded teams.
Yep.
This was a plan that the Polish Federation have. They pulled it off and it worked.
And we're the 7th seeded team, I think.
I think so.
Number 7 team in the world, which is pretty smart on their part and maybe gives you an insight into what they're going to do, what Coach Adam Nawalka is going to do as well. I think it's going to be very well planned and organized.
Looks like a successful literary agent.
All right. I was going to say a slightly overweight but younger Rutger Hauer. That's what I'm going with.
That's also good.
Okay.
That's also
60-year-old Polish, former international. He's been with the club / national team since 2015.
Very nice. Anything else on Poland? Did I get all your predictions out of you?
You did. That you will be trying to make Pazdan happen, but that Arkady Szmylik will not be making Igor Akinfeev happen.
Mine were the Gregor Krokowiak, the number 10 who doesn't deserve to wear number 10, but is lovely all the same, will intercept a ball, and that will start an attack that leads to a Polish goal, because that's part of the plan. And also, a striker will score a left-footed goal from outside of the area. Could be Lewandowski, could be Arkady Szmylik.
There we are. And my final notes on Poland, Wojciech Szczesny, I think is how you say that name.
Ooh.
I finally made myself learn, and I think I've got it. And also Kamil Grosicki is how you say the left winger for Poland.
Probably worth mentioning the wingers just because we've mentioned most of the team. Yeah. Grosicki, I quite like him on the left wing. Like, he's not necessarily flashy,
but not Grosicki.
Grosicki will get down that left wing. I believe Błaszczykowski will be on the right wing. And then I've forgotten the name of the right back who plays for Borussia Dortmund.
Lukas Piszczek.
Piszczek, that's it. You often see him. If you've watched a lot of Christian Pulisic at Dortmund, Piszczek will be the guy either overlapping him and helping him out or slightly letting him down.
Either way.
So my read on Piszczek is he puts in a really nice cross, which could be very useful if he overlaps, gets forward, puts one on the head of Robert Lewandowski. He's not that fast or that brilliant defensively. Like, he's fine, but he's not a superstar defender. Fair?
Yeah, that checks out. And I think that's fitting with, again, the 2006 Ivory Coast nickname. So there we are.
He would be what, Emmanuel Aboué?
Yeah, that's about like Aboué at the time was with Arsenal.
I'm just choosing a right back.
I think, I'm good with that. Well done, Daryl.
All right.
You may have just, like, really, that might be my thesis statement right there. Good job. Thanks for that.
Anything else on Poland?
Nothing else on Poland for me.
Right. Oh, no, we have to suggest maybe a young player. Oh, you already did your young player. Why would someone support Poland at the World Cup?
I guess maybe because they are getting talked about as a dark horse that could make a run in the tournament, but maybe
so it could be your dark horse.
But they could be your dark horse without it being just, they've got Robert Lewandowski and he's really good, but who else do they have? That's going to be the issue. Like, if you look into some of these players, I think that they will be interesting to watch for a variety of reasons.
So you could fake some hipsterdom. You could be like, it's not just Lewandowski, it's Zielinski as well, it's Arkadiusz Milik, it's Krakowiak's interceptions. You could really, talk these guys up, and they might do quite well. So,
perfect.
Does that go for you? My reason to support them is that I think it's possible that they're gaming the system in the FIFA World Rankings has led FIFA to change how the FIFA World Rankings work.
Right.
They announced, just a couple of days ago, FIFA announced that going forward, they will use an ELO rating system. I haven't fully read all the details, but as I understand it, it's basically you add up all the points as opposed to taking an average. So this prevents teams like Poland from gaming the system by not playing friendlies. So their cheating has led FIFA to finally fix the thing that's, in a non-corrupt way, the most broken non-corrupt thing in soccer.
Perfect.
Right?
Well said, Terrell. Well said. And I think that takes us to the second team in the group, Senegal. The Lions of Teranga.
Oh, let's do this first. What does that nickname mean?
It means, we believe, hospitality and or generosity.
Yep, so Teranga in the Wolof language means hospitality or generosity. So they are the Lions of Generosity. I love it. I love that nickname.
It just occurred to me, I think that is also Leela's first name in Futurama. So maybe she is Generosity Leela.
Really?
I think she's Teranga Leela.
That's brilliant.
That really just came out of nowhere to me. But
so
yes.
Senegal should be the Leelas.
And I kind of like the Lions of Generosity.
It's the friendliest soccer nickname I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Right? Even so Cameroon are the indomitable Lions. It's about being, unbeatable, and you can't
Super
take
Eagles.
Yeah, everything's about, and not just in Africa, right? Everything's about being, like, it's talking your team up.
Yep.
It's not about showing generosity to other teams. I love it. Go on, Senegal. But we still have to do the Total Soccer Show system and give them an alternative nickname.
All right.
So what you got, Taylor?
The Hourglasses.
Ooh, because of the shape of the team?
Pretty much.
Yes.
We think you're going to see them kind of consistently in some version of a 4-2-4. So 4-2-4, if you put it together, it's almost, like you could go the inverted infinity, but I'm going to say hourglass.
Is this dangerous?
Yes.
So
yes, of course it is.
Here's what I first heard about Senegal when I was just doing the reading before watching them. A lot of people told me this team plays a 4-3-3 and they have three attackers, one of which is Sadio Mane. They're, obviously worth being excited about, the Liverpool forward. And then a lot of more defensive-minded midfielders like Idrissa Gueye or Ndiaye, or we'll get into Senegalese pronunciation afterwards.
Cheikhou Kouyaté.
Yeah, so really solid defensive midfielders. And that made sense to me, like solid defensive midfield, pacey attackers, creative attackers up front. That's a team that could work. That's almost Brazil, right? I mean, Brazil are doing it at the next level, but that's almost Brazil. But when I see them play, it's 4 forwards and 2 central midfielders. And massive holes in the side, massive holes between those high wingers and deep fullbacks. It's almost like they're being the Lions of Generosity and inviting you to come and play in those holes behind the wingers. It's scary.
It is, and that's why, actually, since you've led us that way, one of my predictions, Senegal will concede a goal after the 75th minute, and Lamine Gassama will be involved. That is going to be, I believe, they're starting right back. And what I noticed in their game against Croatia, he looked absolutely gassed right around the 75th minute, but because of that, he was still getting forward a little bit, but wasn't really getting back as quickly as he was earlier in the game. And if you go back and watch the highlights of that game, you'll see Croatia's attacks in the second half all come down his side, and it's consistently
Gassama gets gassed.
Yeah, and it's consistently like Modric getting the ball turning and playing somebody like usually Perisic into space between the center back and that gap with the fullback, where there is going to be a lot of opportunity to have the ball with little pressure.
So it can work, right? Theoretically, this can work. If you end up in a 4-2-4 shape, no one's going to list it this way, right? It'll be listed as a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2, but you'll see it. You'll see 4 forwards. They basically press you with 4 forwards. That could be trouble. If there's a team that's not good at playing out of the back, a team that's worse than Croatia, because Croatia is very good, because the friendly we saw.
Even then, though, against Croatia, just to really like hammer home your point, I believe only once, but still, it's worth noting that the goalkeeper had to just kick it straight out of bounds because it got passed back to him. He didn't have any passes. He turned and didn't know what else to do and just hoofed it.
So it could work. They could really terrify some teams with that high press. But if it's bypassed, there are gigantic gaps. And I really felt sorry for the 2 central midfielders, 2 defensive midfielders. It really is 2 people left to cover the entire width of midfield.
Yeah, pretty much. That said, those 2 gentlemen are Idrissa Gueye and I believe at least, it'll be Sheku Kouyaté, who Kouyaté is the captain. Idrissa Gueye, I think I've talked about it in like 4 different podcasts now. But
Idrissa Gana Gueye.
Excuse me. Yeah. But yes, he is that, like, he's going to be the defensive rock who does a lot of work. And does a lot of ground covering.
Wins a lot of tackles. Yes. Can we talk about Senegalese pronunciation?
Sure.
So we've tried to be as careful as we can and correct as we can when we do the Total Soccer Show. Taylor came in firing today with some a great guide to the pronunciation of Senegalese names.
I mean, I'm doing my best. I wouldn't go overboard with my pronunciation.
Could you remind me and also share it with our listeners and maybe give some example names as well as we go?
I shall do my best. So this is taken from like the Reddit preview. I think it's like in the comments section way down there. But then I cross-referenced just to make sure. But essentially, it's a lot of like French, Senegalese changing of the way maybe some of the sounds would already be in French, but definitely very different from English. So, for example, Sadio, who we've been talking about a lot, Sadio Mane, the D-I in that one becomes a J. So if you want to go the proper pronunciation, it's Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane.
I believe so. I hope Mane is correct.
Sadio Mane. Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But you've got several players.
More on him later, obviously, because he's the star man on this roster.
Yes. Yeah. You've got several players who have, I would have pronounced, like before researching this, like Ndai or something like that.
So there is an Alfred, that name, who has played for Wolverhampton Wanderers basically all season on loan from Villarreal. Wonderful player. I'm really excited about hopefully seeing him in the World Cup. I've been pronouncing it Ndai all season as I've been cheering his name, watching on my laptop. I've been saying it wrong.
You've got Badu Ndai as well from Stoke City, also in this
not
team.
Not related.
Nope. And again, it's the DI, that becomes a J, but then the N or the M in front of it, so Mboji as well as another one, but you drop that noise, so Ndai becomes Jai.
Because of an apostrophe.
Yes.
Right? So it's N apostrophe D-I is just J.
Yep.
Right?
There you go.
So it's Alfred Jai.
Yes, instead of Alfred Ndai, which is slightly different.
So again, if you want to impress your friends, maybe overpronounce Senegalese names.
Perfect.
Or just pronounce them correctly. Pronounce them correctly. How about that?
That too.
All right, can we get into, away from pronunciation,
sure.
Can we get back into talking about some players?
If we must.
My nickname for the Lions of Teranga is Mane's Marauders.
Yep.
Mane's Marauders. Because if this 4-2-4 thing works, and it can work, what you could end up with is a central midfielder striding forward, and then a centre forward, another centre forward, a wide left player, and a wide right player, all, I think the best word is screaming forward, because they're all quick. They're genuinely, all the forwards I've looked at are really quick, and they're smart about like making crossing runs. It's almost like you'll be a midfielder, will be like a quarterback, and you'll have 4 targets to aim at. They will be marauding you, running at you. And if they can get the ball in front of Sadio Mane or Ismail Ma, sorry, have I got his name correct?
Ismaila
Sarr, the right winger, you could be in a lot of trouble as a defense, as an opposition defense. So Mane's Marauders are coming for you.
I like it.
I'm imagining a backpedaling opposition defense.
I think you'll see that quite often.
Yeah.
And I would say for people who maybe are more familiar with American football than your type of football, Daryl, the analogy I would go with Senegal would be a team that is very good with their running game, maybe not so good throwing the ball. So because from what I have heard from or what I've read, from a few Senegalese experts, is that midfield that we've talked about, which is very good defensively and works very, very hard, historically, since Aliou Cissé took over in 2015, historically, they haven't been as good at linking from winning the ball back to playing it forward to finding space for those front 3 or 4 to run into. And so it tends to be, when they win the ball back, the player who wins the ball back charges forward with it, and everybody goes with them. And that's where I think you see that 4-2-4 develop, is because if their plan is win the ball back, dribble forward aggressively, and everybody run with him so that you've got numbers in the box if and when a cross comes in, it means that you're sending those numbers forward and maybe keeping those holding midfielders back, so you get that hourglass shape.
So I'm crossing my fingers that the hourglass shape, the Mane Marauder system, works. And I'm going to make a prediction that Senegal will score with a direct overball from a midfielder. So one of those central midfielders will receive the ball, maybe in transition, and he will have Mane's Marauders running ahead of him. He'll have say 4 different options sprinting forward, and he will just lift the ball over the opposition defence, drop it in behind for one of those guys to run onto. It could be Sadio Mane, it could be Keita, it could be Sarr, it could be Sao, it could be Niang. I could list probably another 4 Senegalese strikers or wingers that could be running onto the end of this ball.
But question for you then, that seems like it goes against what I just said, which is that they're trying to get the ball forward as quickly as possible because the central midfielders aren't necessarily good at playing the ball forward.
What I understood you to be saying was that they're not great at building an attack in a slow sort of way.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is more of a fast, get it over the top for people to run onto kind of way, but in a thrilling way, right? This could be really, really fun to watch.
Yep.
Right? If you have seen Ismaila Sarr on the run, then you'll know it is thrilling to watch. He gets taken down as often as he goes past people, because people get desperate and take him down.
Yes, people do get desperate to take them down, but I also
specifically
think
Sarr, I'm talking about,
that you get some of the Senegalese attackers getting desperate themselves, and that's why I've got my second prediction that Senegal will attempt at least one acrobatic kick per game, because I've saw
seen
them
this as well.
And I think if I were going to
is it desperation or is it confidence?
I think it's maybe both, if that makes sense. I think this is maybe a little bit of psychoanalysis. So, armchair psychology, make of that what you will. But it felt to me like they would get opportunities to shoot, and maybe if they just slowed down a little bit, they could square it to the open runner coming through, or they could build up a little bit and try to pass it around the box. And it felt like a lot of situations where player would get the ball, it's a very tight angle, but it's an opportunity to shoot. I want to take my chance, and they would shoot wide or shoot over or shoot right at the goalkeeper. And that extended to, I would see players sort of going for the first time bicycle kick or going for a diving header or going for a flying volley when they probably could have brought it down in the box and then laid it off. But I think when you have
a Moussa Sow bicycle kick,
yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. But when you've got that sort of mentality of go, 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 we've got to get it in, we've got to get the shots off, we've got to get those goals, it's really difficult. We've talked about it before. If you're doing a super high press, high energy system, it's really difficult to just suddenly be like, never mind, everybody drop back and play defensive.
Yeah.
You can't kind of do that transition mentally, and I think that sometimes impacts their shooting decisions.
I think because they've got a lot of defensive midfielders, right? Like Idrissa Gana Gueye, no one who's watched him at Everton would say he's a creative midfielder, he's a defensive midfielder. A lot of destroyers in the middle, and then a lot of wingers and strikers, but there's no guy that sets the tempo. Right. And I've seen them try to play Sadio Mane as the number 10, sitting between sitting between midfield and attack.
Which is probably, you're right, it's probably an attempt to slow it down a little bit and change the way they're playing.
But it's not really his game, right?
Nope.
So, I mean, the reason Sadio Mane is so successful at Liverpool is part of that go front three with Firmino and Salah, right? Those guys do not slow down. The whole point of that Liverpool front three is to go fast.
Yep, absolutely. And I think
if they're in the transfer market, they would be looking for a number 10 type.
I think they join a long list of national teams and club teams who are looking for a number 10. But the other thing that I think points to maybe a little bit of frustration or desperation is that they've only scored 1 goal in their recent friendlies against Uzbekistan, Bosnia, and Luxembourg. 1 goal against those 3 teams. That doesn't really speak to everybody has a lot of confidence.
0-0 with Luxembourg. I watched that game.
And I think, that's a shame. And I think you're seeing then some of the experimentation from Cisse, the manager, is trying to figure out how can we put ourselves in more like high percentage shooting situations.
That makes sense. All right, a word on Aliou Cisse,
sure.
The coach of Senegal. He is famous for being a member of that 2002 World Cup squad, the Senegalese team that went to the quarter-finals. He looks like a fashion designer.
Yep.
You agree?
I agree.
So he's got sort of cool long dreads, big, oversized, very fashionable glasses, and he often wears...
Which he frequently, go ahead. I was going to interrupt.
He often wears sharp, slim suits with a skinny tie.
Yep.
So he looks like a fashion designer. But he also will sometimes drop those big glasses down into his collar, right? Or
and then
like in the neck part.
And then I think it was Henry Bushnell was pointing out that then sometimes when he doesn't wear the tie, his shirt looks too much like their home jersey. So
I didn't read that
he was forced to wear a training bib during one game.
I did see that.
And then he hung the glasses on his training bib.
Even that kind of looked okay on him.
Yep.
Right? He found a way. He found a way to accessorize the training bib with the glasses.
Yep.
So Aliou Cisse. There are questions about Cisse though from Senegalese fans and media. Like, they all love him from 2002, but they have the same questions we have about what is this 4-2-4?
Yeah.
Can this work? Because this could be the revelation of the World Cup, where everybody's talking about, this Senegal team, all these talented attackers up front, and he's found a way to get them all on the field and get the ball to them quickly. Or it could be he's tried to get too many attackers on the field and Senegal are getting hurt for it.
I think he's one of... Really, if we took time, I bet we could come up with like the 6 categories of World Cup manager. And he is one of the ones who was maybe brought in to replace a manager who was perceived as being dull and boring and very reactive and defensive.
Is this literally what happened?
Yes. And then then I think what tends to happen is that manager comes in and is going to be exciting and attacking, and then maybe things don't go quite good to plan, and now he is also coming under fire for maybe trying to be a little bit too dull in his approach because he's focusing on trying to improve the defense to maybe solidify things at the base, and as a result maybe isn't unleashing the attack as much.
Grass is always greener, isn't it?
Indeed.
I have a Sadio Mane prediction. So I think at least one Senegalese goal will come from a Sadio Mane cutback. Okay. So I don't know if he's going to play central or if he's going to play wide. They keep moving him around. But he loves to get some 1-2s going in the box. He loves to end up, uses like a bit of acceleration to get essentially to the end line, and then he's very good at picking the right pass from the end line. He doesn't cross blindly. He picks a pass, cuts it back. Someone like, is it Sakho, the striker, Diafra Sakho, I think could be the beneficiary of a Sadio Mane cutback.
Any number of their many, many attackers that they've brought. Yeah, you mentioned Moussa Sow earlier. Mame Biram Diouf also in there. I
meant Diafra Sakho.
Diafra Sakho and Mame Biram Diouf.
Yes.
Boy, this is getting tricky.
No, I'm getting the hang of it.
All right. I would say, to your point about Sadio Mane and the cutbacks,
yes,
it does seem like that is a thing.
Which is a great band name.
It sure is. It does seem like a thing, and maybe it should be the nickname. It does seem like a thing that other players on the team are trying to do, Sarr especially. But what I've noticed is that Mane is very good at cutting it back to that like spot between the 6 and the penalty spot, where the goalkeeper isn't going to be as capable of coming out to collect it. With other players, it felt like I kept seeing it get caught. Yes.
That's what they mean by the whole 9 yards.
That. Yeah. Is that what they mean?
No.
Okay. But I feel like on the other side, you tend to see the goalkeeper catch the ball or turn it over for a corner kick. Yeah. But you don't see a lot of headers coming from the other side or a lot of shots coming from the right side. Yes. It tends to be that left cutback from Sadio Mane.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. We haven't talked about Koulibaly.
No. We haven't.
The all-star centre-back. His full name is Kalidou Koulibaly. He also plays for Napoli. This is the group of Napoli.
Yeah.
Group H is the group of Napoli. He really is the standout centre-back. I really, really like Koulibaly's game. He is composed but aggressive enough. He'll step out and win. And he does a tackling style that I like to call loosening the lid.
Okay.
So he will sometimes charge out and you think, he's not going to get there. And he just gets there enough that he doesn't cleanly take the ball, but he gets enough to rattle you, right? It's like the first part where you just loosen the lid on a jar just a little bit. And then second time, it's a more sort of technically perfect tackle to relieve you of the ball and it's Koulibaly who walks away with the ball. So he does a loosen the lid challenge and then a full take the lid off tackle and walk away with it.
Yeah, because I think if you can make that little tackle, that little challenge that just slows the attacker up and it allows another defensive player to come in and then win the ball, that's a good way to break down counterattacks.
He seems to not need the other defensive player. It's usually Koulibaly himself who takes it.
He's decent.
Also, I took a good look at him defending for Napoli. He's very good at closing the angles. He's one of those players who, if he doesn't come charging to you and win the ball, he will stand off and make sure that you have no other options. So Koulibaly is definitely a guy to watch. Also, if you'll indulge me with a bonus prediction, I really like what I've seen him do on a couple of corner kicks and free kicks. He will challenge for the header, because he'll go forward to challenge for the header, but then he'll do something unexpected with the flick-ons. I've seen him go up for a corner, charge at the ball, and then flick it backwards off the back of his head to drop it to a waiting, I think it was Mane, or a waiting forward at the top of the box.
All right.
So really sort of bit of disguise and misdirection on an attacking header from Koulibaly.
He's good.
Yeah.
I like him. I can't remember who got him in the Africa draft we did, but whoever did was very smart.
It's probably me then.
I think it was me.
Anything else on Senegal?
No, I think that's about it for me, aside from young players to watch. We've mentioned him already, but Ismaila Sarr, I don't know if I'm hitting that one right. 20-year-old right winger for Stade Rennais. Also don't know if I'm saying that one right, but he's going to be making, I would say, runs, running the channel, obviously, but making the interior runs, cutting inside and trying to split defenses. If they do get a little bit stretched, he's one who I've seen does do a good job of running off of whoever's that kind of central target striker for Senegal and kind of running through for the layoff to take it through with that one touch, that kind of burst of pace touch, and then try to get a shot that goes wide.
He really does have that burst of pace that seems to constantly take people by surprise. One guy we haven't really shouted out as much, Keita Balde. I think he's a really interesting player. So he was formerly at Napoli, or was it Lazio?
Yes.
He was in Serie A.
It might have been Lazio.
Light blue team in Italy. Anyway, he's with Monaco now. I don't think he's had the very best of seasons, but there are flashes of brilliance in Keita Balde. Don't know if he starts. There's a chance, but there is a chance that we get a lineup that is Jafro Sakho, centre forward, Sadio Mane alongside / underneath him, Ismaila Sarr on the right, and Keita Balde on the left. That combination thrills me. The idea of watching those four guys play together absolutely thrills me.
I mean, it really could be any number of things. You could get Sarr on the right, Mane on the left, Balde underneath.
Don't give us all the combos.
So up top. I'm just saying, that is the thing with Senegal as well. I don't necessarily know who their starting 11 are going to be.
That's actually a problem, isn't it?
And I think I could pick maybe 3 of their front 4 when that first 11 comes out. It's one of the rare situations when I don't know if that necessarily matters, because it's not like, oh, this guy can't do this and this guy isn't that. Like, I think all of their attackers are very, very good. Sadio Mane, I think, head and shoulders above the rest. But they're so talented that no, definitely
head and shoulders below the rest, literally. I think. But I know what you're saying.
But I think, any of those 5 attackers that you might throw in there, they'll be doing just fine.
One guy I want to maybe mention is Moussa Wagu. He is, I believe, the reserve right back, but he's only 19. He's the youngest player on the roster. He plays for Eupen, which is a small team in the Belgium top flight. But he's very nice on the overlap. So if you see him in the team, it's because they're going a bit more attacking, or the right back Gassama really is gassed. And then you get Moussa Wagu in there. That Eupen is such a small team that if he impresses, I imagine they're not wealthy and that they would accept a bid from someone.
I would say so. It's just a matter of, does the 19-year-old get any kind of game time?
But he's 1 assist away from a big move.
Perfect.
What is the reason to support Senegal at this World Cup?
I think we've talked about it in previews past, but if you're looking for an African team to go the farthest that any African team has ever gone, this is one of my picks to make it deep into the tournament.
Interesting. It goes either way, right? This team either does well or finishes bottom of Group H.
I do think there are going to be teams that will be better suited to play against them and to cause them problems. I think the next team we're going to talk about is one of them, because I think a big part of Senegal's defense, like if you think about what we were talking about, like going back to Koulibaly, like he makes those interceptions and he tries to knock people off the ball, but he does that. What was your phrasing for it? Like opening the jar, loosening the jar.
Loosening the lid, then opening the jar.
I just feel like I saw a lot of 2 players sprinting back at full speed and making like a really good play, like a sliding challenge that forced the attacker to cut back, and then the second defender came in and won the ball. That's very good, but it felt also like sort of desperation defending. It was right on that line.
It's because they get stretched out with that 4-2-4, right?
And if you find a team that isn't doesn't play into that, because if you're playing a high-pressure, high-intensity system and the other team is doing that too, they're not necessarily picking their chances as well as they could be. And I think a team like Colombia can maybe slow it down and possess a little bit and look for the runners off the ball and not get hit by those two sprinting defenders. And then I think Senegal could be in trouble.
Okay, that is all very possible. One reason I would
think
say...
I just went into my Colombia preview, but oh well.
we'll get there in a second. One reason to support them is Aliou Cissé, I believe, is the only black coach at the World Cup.
That seems possible.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's one reason to support Senegal. Also, I sort of love the symmetry of former players taking over their national team in the way that Cissé is this 2002 legend who's now in charge. I like the symmetry of him going deep again.
It cuts both ways.
It does cut, but I mean, there's Diego Maradona as well, right?
Yeah, and there's one I'm sure, Daryl, for you that you've maybe alluded to briefly, but Jai is a Wolverhampton player.
Oh yes, did I mention that?
You did not.
Okay.
I don't think you did, at least.
Yeah, so I'll be watching...
You mentioned it very briefly.
I'll be watching... Oh, yeah, I mentioned getting his name wrong after watching him for a whole season, which is a very Wolverhampton thing to do.
Yep.
I'll be watching to see if he starts, because I think he's one of those that really is, what's the American phrase, on the bubble in terms of making the starting 11.
Yep.
If I tune into that first Senegal game and Jai is starting, I'm pumped. I'm extra pumped for a Senegal game.
All right.
Yeah.
And maybe final thing on Jai, maybe a different one, Badu Jai. You were saying that this is the group of Napoli. You could maybe argument that this is the team of Stoke, because there are two Stoke players in it, both of whom are going to be looking to get moves. It's Badu Jai and it's Mame Biram Diouf.
Yep.
And I think maybe they'll be extra up for any moments they get to really try to solidify that, hey, I'm a world-class player playing in a World Cup. Please don't make me play in the championship.
You think Diouf and Jai will be gesturing to the cameras like, hey, close up.
I do.
Get it on me.
And I would too.
Also, Aliou Cissé's stylish get-up deserves to go deep into the tournament.
Perfect.
Yeah, best dressed. Best dressed. Before we move on to Colombia, today's Total Soccer Show is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the website provider that we use at the Total Soccer Show.
We certainly do. If you're new to the program, if you've only just started listening since we did
That's pretty fancy.
Yeah, sometimes you got to go.
Sound like one BBC Radio 4.
I think it comes from being very afraid of using the same word over and over and over again when writing. So I think somehow that's become one of my words I go with. Yeah. Podcast, show, program, TSS, whatever.
Lovely. Excuse me, I interrupted you.
If you're new to it, though, that is how we rebuilt our websites.
We did.
To make it stronger, better, faster than ever.
Stronger, better, faster. It was the $6 million man, but it did not cost that much.
And also, who are the people with the helmets that light up and stuff like that? It's going to come to me later on. Keep going.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you do. The French like electric band.
Oh, they go up and down the stairs?
It's going to annoy me so bad. They
go up and down the stairs.
Daft Punk. Harder, better, stronger, faster. There it was. Okay. It was very important that we figured that out.
So if you want to see our work, it's at totalsoccershow.com. That is the website that we rebuilt with Squarespace. It really was easy. It really was easy because you can drag and drop the various blocks to build the website as you see fit. You can use a template, then you can meddle with the template as much as you like. And then if you're like me, you just slowly ease into more and more complicated things as you go. And I always felt, I'm scared of breaking things, right? Very scared of breaking our website. I always felt safe meddling with the website with Squarespace.
But if you didn't feel safe or you did need a little bit of consultation, because maybe, there are varying degrees of internet knowledge. I would say, Daryl Grove, you have more than I do. I'm not sure I would feel as confident as you did. They have the 24/7 award-winning customer support.
Yes.
So if you do need a little bit of help, so then that's so saith the copy. Yes, so they've got that as well. So if you are struggling to figure something out, they will be there to help you get the answer.
I genuinely can confirm that. I had some questions. I went to them. They got back to me.
Somebody's not perfect.
Well, part of being perfect is admitting when you're not.
You're never gonna get into Daft Punk with that attitude. I assume they strive for perfection.
So one thing I did recently was I added an anchor tag to the bottom of the homepage to go directly to the subscribe links. So if you're listening to the show and you want to...
Would you say it brings you down to the subscribe links?
You might. And we want people to subscribe to the show via their podcast player, right? Because then that boosts us and we go up the charts for that. So if you go now to totalsoccershow.com #subscribe, it takes you directly to all the links to subscribe via pretty much any podcast player. And I was able to do that by going through a couple of Squarespace online guides and then putting the code in, and then there it is. There are like HTML experts laughing at me right now that I needed help with this, but I got the help and I did it. So thank you, Squarespace.
Thank you, Squarespace. If you listeners would like to check out, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code TSS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Yes, you can design it for free. Then if you're ready to launch it, then you use the promo code TSS for 10% off.
Beautiful. Thank you again to Squarespace. Thank you to Poland and Senegal for already being previewed. It means we've only got 2 left in all of our previews. It's kind of exciting, right?
It's like final exams, right?
Except then we have a long period of examination to come afterwards, but still.
Genuinely, I'm super looking forward to the World Cup, and we'll maybe talk more about this tomorrow when we do our first sort of Russia-Saudi Arabia preview game. But all these previews, they've been wonderful. I feel like enriched with knowledge from doing the research.
I know what you meant, but for a second it sounded like you were saying like these previews have been wonderful. Like you're welcome.
No, it's been. I'm saying it's been fun to do it.
Yep.
But it also every time we sit down to do it, it's kind of like an exam, right? It's like all the knowledge that you've accumulated recently is now about to be tested.
Yep.
So I'm actually ready to be done after this 8th one.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but just in a let's move on to watching some games kind of way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But with that in mind, we've got 2 left. Let's start with Los Cafeteros.
I was quitting early there, yeah. Colombia. Colombia, Los Cafeteros.
Yep.
But that's not the nickname we're going to go with, is it? What's your nickname going to be?
I'm going back to the past. I've already gone 2006 Ivory Coast, right? Is that what I went with?
Yep.
This time I'm going to go 2014 plus. Because that's what I think this Colombia team is, which I think kind of goes against the narrative.
Like ESPN Plus?
No, as in the 2014 squad that did very good. Plus, I think they're better, and I don't think that's the common narrative, but it's what I personally believe about Colombia.
I 100% agree. Maybe one area that that really proves that is central defense, right? I think last time, 2014, they still had, is it Mario Yepes, who's the 38-year-old centre-back?
Yep.
This time they've got Davison Sanchez, who's 22, and Yerry Mina, who's 23, 24.
Yep.
They've got a much more youthful defence, but they've still got James Rodriguez, Falcao. Falcao didn't go to 2014 World Cup, right?
Recovering from the injury.
And he's in for this one.
He is. Yeah. He is. So that's what I'm saying. I think they have, not a lot, but 4 players that played a knockout round game for them in 2014 are still on this roster. But I think elsewhere they have definitely strengthened and improved and gotten younger in key areas.
2014 plus.
Yep.
Love it. Okay, my nickname for Colombia is the one-man team, but in a good way.
Okay. I almost had that for both Poland and Colombia.
So I think Colombia are a one-man team the right way. It is 100% built around James Rodriguez. If you're unfamiliar, he plays for Bayern Munich. He used to play for Real Madrid. He was the top scorer at the 2014 World Cup.
And in qualifying.
Was he really? So he's still finding the back
6 goals in qualifying.
6 goals in the 2014 World Cup.
Decent.
Including that beautiful, in 2014, that chest and volley from outside the box that everyone was excited about. James is their best player. Jose Peckerman, the coach, who looks like an aging mod, by the way, he's really good at building teams around playmakers. Remember he did it with Riquelme for Argentina back in the day?
Yep.
He has done this beautifully with Colombia all around James. So, hear me out here. You basically agree, right? But I'm going to explain some more. 4-2-3-1 is the system. Back 4, obviously. 2 central defensive midfielders, Carlos Sanchez and Abel Aguilar, are likely to be the starters.
It might be Vilmar Barrios instead of Aguilar, but that's kind of a toss-up. But either way, I'm still with you, yeah.
But 2 defensive midfielders who are just tasked with holding the shape, holding the 2 defensive midfield shape, right? There's a striker, Ramadal Falcao.
Radamel.
Senor Falcao. Cuadrado to the right, a winger, another guy to the left. Then James in the middle of it all, James Rodriguez.
I'm not familiar with another guy. Who's that on the roster? Is it another guy?
Uribe?
You got it, yeah. I think Mateus Uribe is the one who has started most recently, consistently in their friendlies.
All right, listeners, I'd like to know. I did that with no notes. James really is just allowed to go wherever he wants.
Yep.
It 100% is. James is in the middle of it all, and he's allowed to do whatever he wants, and the goal is get the ball to James Rodriguez. Here's why that's not terrible, because it sounds terrible. James works hard.
Yep.
It's not that James Rodriguez stands there and just demands that everybody find a way to get the ball to him. He is always, for 90 minutes and plus injury time, on his toes, moving around, going left, right, up, down, changing little angles all over the place, being in a spot to receive the ball. He works so hard to receive the ball. So it's like they're accommodating him in terms of making him central to everything, but he's also doing the work in response to it, so he's not taking advantage of the situation. It's a perfect marriage.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a strange analogy I'm going to go with, but It's the equivalent of like having Will Smith in a movie. Like you're going to base that movie around Will Smith. You're not going to be like, yeah, but everybody would do that. Like let's make him a minor player in this movie. Like no, you're going to want him to be front and center because he's a bankable star. So too is James Rodriguez.
But then he brings it, right? Will Smith brings it.
Exactly.
James Rodriguez brings it.
And I would say maybe elevates the performances of everybody else. I'm not a huge Will Smith fan, but apparently I am.
Oh, really?
Whatever. I haven't seen a lot of his recent movies.
Oh, I haven't either. Has he just sort of wound it down a bit lately?
I don't know. He's been in a lot of he was in one with Margot Robbie recently, ×2. He was in Suicide Squad where he has the worst
I didn't see that.
roll credits of all time.
Deadeye?
Yes. We some kind of Suicide Squad. Brilliant writing, folks. Brilliant writing.
All right, back to James?
No, let's do a little more with. But I'm with you, though, that like if you have this bankable star who's incredibly good at what they do, you utilize them to the best of their ability. Mm-hmm. And that, I'm with you, is the key thing, is that it's not just give it to James and hope he does something. It's give it to James so that he can, maybe he dribbles forward with the ball, but it can also be so he turns and plays the ball into the channel that no one else is capable of playing. Or it's give it to James, he'll dribble past somebody, square it to Radamel Falcao, who makes very good runs off of what James does. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to build around a player who's capable of providing a diversity of attacking options.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And here's my first prediction.
Yep.
James assist on a Falcao goal.
Okay.
So what I see the most is...
that's
almost too obvious,
That's
right?
Almost water is wet, yeah.
So it is their two best players, right? Yep. James and Falcao. But it's part of Colombia fully embracing the fact that that's their two best players and playing to their strengths, because the thing James looks for the most is to use his sweet left foot and swing it in for Falcao. And Falcao's so good at making a sort of far post then near post run. You know, that run that throws a defender. You pretend to go one way, then you go the other way. But then Rodriguez will land it in front of him or on his head. I think we'll see exactly that goal. Mm-hmm. The defense finds James because he's made a run to be open. James looks up. Falcao's making a run. He serves a bending left-footed ball in. Falcao heads it in at the near or far post.
Yeah.
That's a goal you're going to see.
It is. And I think it's worth noting here that this is where having a manager who is long in terms of how long they've been serving as that manager, but
Peckerman.
Also good at what they do.
Yep.
Jose Peckerman has taken two teams to the World Cup, Argentina 2006, Colombia 2014.
He is not an absolute beginner.
No, he's not.
That's a good mod joke.
There you go.
Someone will get it.
He won the U20 World Cup in 2005 with Argentina. But with Colombia, he's been there so long that he knows the strengths and weaknesses of these players. And I think with some managers, you might have this inclination to think, ooh, Radamel Falcao, I remember him in his Atletico Madrid days. I want that player. So I'm going to use him in that role. That's not who he is anymore. He's not going to go like make lung-busting runs through defenses and body people off the ball. He's not going to maybe even necessarily hold up play and link play. He is going to be the target, the fox in the box, who's going to make, as you said, that near post, far post, that far post, near post run, and he's going to get himself open.
I like to imagine he says it out loud as he's doing it.
Near post, far post, far post, near post.
Defender just spinning in circles.
But I think he knows exactly what Peckerman knows exactly how he wants to use Falcao. Falcao is comfortable in that role. James has the experience and the familiarity with the player to know where he's going to be. I think you're absolutely right. That is going to happen.
Going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's the most specific and guaranteed we've been with the prediction.
It's up there.
So have you got a prediction for me?
I do. And I'll go with one about James Rodriguez as well. I think he will be the most fouled player in this group.
Ooh, interesting.
Because when you have a player who is very much going to be the focal point of any attacking move or most attacking moves, it's easy to isolate that player. We'll talk a little bit about Japan later on, but their manager is big on building a game plan according to the opponent they're facing.
I didn't know that.
And so I won't be surprised if they put particular emphasis on James Rodriguez. I think he is the one who is most capable of unlocking Senegal if they are in that kind of scramble mode defense. And so I think an easy way to deal with that is just kick him. Let's just put him down.
Guess who takes the free kick?
Well, then there's that, yes. But it still doesn't change the fact that I think if you even go back to their friendly against Egypt, that's basically what Egypt did. They employed a hack a James, is what I'm calling it, strategy. Basically that anytime he gets the ball, they're going to put a body on him, they're going to knock him around, they're going to make him have to worry about that as opposed to, there's spacing behind that fullback, I'm going to put that ball in perfectly.
Okay, should we move on from James and Falcao?
Should, except the final point of that was just in 2014 he was unknown, now he's very much known. So it's easier to game plan.
That's fair. All right. Other players maybe we're talking about. We mentioned those defenders earlier. They have the youthful defenders. I really think that's a huge plus. And I want to just drill a little deeper on that. Mm-hmm. Spurs fans will be familiar with Davinson Sanchez. Worth reminding people, he's only 22. Yep. And his career trajectory has basically just been a rocket. Do you remember we first saw him when the US played Colombia in the Olympic playoff?
Vaguely.
He was a centre-back for Colombia's U23s in that playoff, right? From there, he went to Ajax, and then he went to Spurs, and he's excelled at every single level. This is a special, special player. And here's what, I love analysing defenders, right? Davinson Sanchez can read the game. He can see the passes and the dribbles come in before they happen, and he's rapido. So if you can read the game and you're quick enough with your feet and your legs to go and cut it out, that's a killer combination.
Yes.
Yeah?
So, I was trying to figure out how to say quick enough in Spanish.
So Davinson Sanchez, you'll see him just getting there first to things that you didn't know were coming. Next to him, Yerry Mina, who plays for Barcelona, 6'5" centre-back. 6'5" centre-back. He's going to be winning those headers.
I'm not sure I agree with you on that one.
Ooh,
I don't know if he starts. Because I think he's had a not very good season at club level playing with Barcelona, hasn't gotten many minutes, and maybe because of that is inexperienced enough at national team level that you want to partner somebody like Davinson Sanchez with maybe a more proven veteran like Christian Zapata.
Interesting.
That would not surprise me if they did a sort of old and young combination as opposed to two very young players.
Fair enough.
And see what they're capable of that way.
But either way, Sanchez starts. Davinson Sanchez
100%.
has to start, right? Okay. Anyone else you want to talk about? I, for example, would love to talk about Juan Cuadrado.
As would I. That was my other prediction, so why not?
All right. So what do you like about Juan Cuadrado?
I mean, I like that he is the most obvious outlet if James is being James, or if he is having problems basically finding fluidity in the attack. Juan Cuadrado is so very attacking that, number one, he allows Santiago Arias, who's going to be the right back, we think.
Cuadrado's the right winger, by the way, for those who don't know.
And Arias, I think that allows him to stay home a little bit more and not let the defense get so stretched because Juan Cuadrado is doing so much attacking that he will draw so many players over that I think he can kind of help kickstart attacks that way. The problem that, from what I understand and from the little that I've seen of him recently, is that he can try to do too much and maybe gets indecisive as a result. So I have that Juan Cuadrado will be the most dispossessed player on Colombia's team. Because if it isn't quite working through James, or maybe he just wants to try to make something happen, so he'll hold onto the ball a little bit too much, or maybe he'll cut inside to try to create a goal-scoring chance, but that's where the numbers are, that's where the defenders are, so I think he might lose the ball more often than he does provide a game-killing assist.
That's harsh on Cuadrado.
I mean, I still really like Juan Cuadrado, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he's as productive for Colombia as maybe he was in 2014. Maybe he's the 2014 minus part, or 2014 the same.
It's all in service of James, right? That's the thing.
Yep.
Okay, how about this? One thing we were really excited about when we saw Colombia in 2016 in the Copa America Centenario was the way that they pressed. It was unlike any press I think I'd ever seen before.
It's the trap.
The trap. It's like do we call it like a spring trap?
Spring-loaded trap, I believe.
Spring-loaded trap press, that was it. So what you'll see is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because it's been a while since we watched it. I did see it again recently on a recent Colombia game. When you have the ball, you're the opposition defense. A regular pressing team will just come after you straight away, right? Colombia will go backwards. They will, their players will just jog backwards away from you, maybe let you come forward a little bit, and they'll just wait until there's either a slightly off-target pass or a slight error or miscontrol, and then they will unleash the spring, the trap, like a mouse trap, and then they'll all come after you at once. Falcao, James, Cuadrado, the guy on the left, they will all come after you and press the ball when you're not expecting it. I think it's really effective.
I think two things that I remember specifically about it were in the Copa America Centenario, that you had I think anytime the opponent crossed midfield, that was definitely a trigger for at least one player to go step aggressively. But another big one was anytime you had a center back stride forward with the ball and cross midfield, then it was double pressure on that center back because you now have an obvious gap to exploit behind. So I think anytime you get a player committing...
So you think the triggers are things that leave space behind if we win the ball?
Yeah, I think it's basically anytime you have somebody, I think it's usually, from memory, it's crossing midfield, but doing it in a sort of, I would say, haphazard way, where it's like if you get the ball and you want to counter, then you've maybe stretched too far, you've gone ahead of maybe where the rest of the team is, and so you've opened up opportunities for Colombia, and then that trap is sprung.
Nice. Would you agree as well that when they run backwards, like say Falcao sees a centre-back with the ball, instead of going to him, he really does turn around and jog backwards.
Yeah.
It's almost like
It's a feint. They basically retreat.
He's beckoning you.
Yeah.
He's like, no, come on, it's fine. Come this way. Come this way.
Mm-hmm.
We won't do anything. You'll be fine. It'll be fine. Ah, got you.
Yep. It's Viking tactics. You like make them think there's a small number of you. They over pursue, and then suddenly there's the entire Viking army.
So if you imagine the soccer field as being sort of a hill, it's like as they approach the top of the hill, is the halfway line.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh no.
But it's even like you get the like the charging front runners who are like, I'm going to be the one who gets the glory, and then they come over the top, and there's thousands of people there waiting to, I guess, counterattack them.
So my other prediction then is that Colombia will score a goal with that spring trap, spring-loaded press. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a good one.
Spring-loaded is the word we're going for, right? Yeah.
It will be interesting. The one thing to go back to is that I didn't want to necessarily guarantee a lot of goals because that is something that they've struggled with. James Rodriguez, as I said, top scorer in qualifying. I think 3 other players combined to score 6 goals, 2 of whom are not on this roster. So whether or not they've got other goal-scoring and reliable goal-scoring options at that remains to be seen. But I still think it's a safe bet that the trap will be sprung and James will probably find the head of Radamel Falcao.
Any more predictions?
Nope, I've got those 2.
Any more Colombia chat?
Sure. Youngsters on the move?
Yes.
Vilmar Barrios. Probably Wilmer Barrios, 24-year-old central midfielder for Boca Juniors, and Jefferson Lerma, 23-year-old central midfielder for Levante. They're essentially the midfield replacements for Carlos Sanchez and Abel Aguilar.
Yeah.
They are like those 2 are 32 and 33 respectively. The gentleman I just
Sanchez
mentioned
and
again, and then the 2 I just mentioned, 24 and 23. So they feel sort of like the younger understudies.
I saw quite a few previews that mentioned that Sanchez and Aguilar are over the hill and past it and lost a step. But every time I saw them, they looked fine. And
Agreed.
It's almost as if they're only tasked with not just standing there, but they're basically tasked with holding position. They're not tasked with sprinting anywhere because James does all the running and they hold the shape. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like the experience is more important than having energy in your legs.
I genuinely think it is an easy way to preview teams to look and see, their central midfielders 32 and 33. You could I think there are ways. I'm not trying to go like too up my own rear end to keep it family friendly, but I would say like what you could easily do with that is you could look at those 2 central midfielders, see that they're 32 and 33, and your preview could be Sanchez and Aguilar are veterans with experience playing together, but will the older players be able to handle the pace of attacking flair coming at them, or will they get fatigued, and will you need the youngsters to come in? Mm-hmm. Like, that's all based on the fact that, they're over 30. Yeah. Like, that's not based on any sort of experience in watching games.
We're going to look silly when they get overrun and get replaced in the next game.
Well, there's that. But I think the 2 that I mentioned, again, Barrios and Lerma, are maybe you'll see them get minutes here and there. Maybe one of them will start infrequently, but I think they're the ones who maybe do get a couple minutes, do look solid for a Colombia team that I think has a potential to at the very least make it out of this group. That could maybe turn a few heads.
One guy I'll be keeping an eye on, he's 25 now, but it's Juan Fernando Quintero. He's sort of known as the backup James. So if James Rodriguez is not able to go for any reason, there's a good chance that Juan Fernando Quintero is the guy they put in there. He's only 2 years younger than James, and he's almost very unfortunate that he's in the same generation.
Yep.
But he's never played in... Oh, no. Has he played in Europe or not?
I don't believe so. I think he plays for River right now.
Okay, yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if he can get himself a move.
I would add...
some minutes. It'd be interesting if he gets himself some minutes, and if so, does he catch the eye?
I'm very happy you brought him up because I said earlier that Mateus Uribe will be the starting left winger. That's who I think will be there, but there is also a decent chance that they put Juan Fernando Quintero as a left winger if James Rodriguez is fine and they want to get a bit more attack in there. So I think he may get minutes at left wing potentially.
I've just remembered, I believe now that he has gone to Europe already with maybe Porto or another Portuguese team, but then he kept getting loaned out, and that's why he's listed as River Plate right now. Yeah. So maybe his move will just be to establish himself somewhere in Europe.
That works for me, and I hope that works for him.
If not, he'll have front row tickets to the James show, so he's got that going for him.
Perfect.
Are you ready for our final preview of Group H, our final team preview of World Cup 2018?
I am.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it?
It has. It has.
Final team.
Now it's all over, and we're not going to talk about the World Cup anymore.
That's not true. That's not true. Content every day on the Total Soccer Show. I'm genuinely worried that people might think we're just a big preview show, and we're not going to be doing all the games. Every day, previews and reviews for the next month.
That would be the equivalent of making an amazing dinner for yourself and then just looking at it and be like, yep, that's done. I'm walking away now.
Final team.
Yeah.
Japan. Mm-hmm. Japan. The nickname is the Blue Samurai.
Yep.
The Blue Samurai. But I think the nickname should be the Mutineers.
Okay. I think that's a good nickname. This might be one of two teams, and I know we have Japanese listeners and listeners of Japanese descent, so I apologize because I think we might bum you out a little bit because this is one of only two teams, Panama being the other, that I don't think will have a very good World Cup.
Okay, here's why they're the Mutineers. And it's all tied into what you just said.
Yep.
The coach was Vahid Halihodzic. He was fired in March after the March friendlies.
April 9th. April 9th was the official sacking, yes. Okay. I think the rumors first surfaced in late March that they were not pleased.
This is the man that had qualified Japan for the World Cup, was ready to take them. He was replaced by the technical director, Akira Nishino, right? So the technical director comes in and replaces him. And it seems to be that the reason was that Halihodzic was thinking about not taking star players like Shinji Kagawa and Keisuke Honda to the World Cup.
Maybe Shinji Okazaki as well.
Maybe Shinji Okazaki, the Leicester City forward. Not taking those guys to the World Cup because he wanted a sort of, as I understand it, you told me earlier, a more hard-working system that's based on hard running that maybe those guys weren't suited for.
So that's the allegedly, and then there's an allegedly to go with that allegedly. The surface explanation, there hasn't really been a specific one from the Japanese FA, which is a reason why a lot of Japanese fans don't love the Japanese FA right now. But the implied one was that he played direct soccer that maybe didn't suit what the FA wanted Japan to be playing. They wanted to be more possession-based.
They're known for like a short passing game, essentially. That's the stereotype of Japanese soccer, and maybe the style that they have embraced. Right.
So then the allegation is, that he left off those bigger names because they maybe didn't fit what he wanted to do. And the allegation within that allegation, the allegedly, is that it was sponsorship implications. That those are the players who Adidas already have deals with. I think they have deals with a lot of different Japanese companies.
There's a beverage company as well that sponsors a lot of Japanese national team games. I can't remember the name, but they were very upset that the big names like Kagawa and Honda and Okazaki would be left off the squad. And so the coach was ousted, including some of the big names also went to the FA and complained about it.
I mean, look at their jersey release, and it's Kagawa and it's Honda are the two front and center. If you don't bring them, that doesn't look very good.
And just for those who don't know, Kagawa, right? Japanese
Kagawa.
Pronunciation, you emphasize the first syllable.
I think so?
Syllable.
Syllable. Yeah.
Emphasis on the first syllable.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Shinji Kagawa, of Borussia Dortmund, briefly of Manchester United, really talented attacking midfielder. Keisuke Honda plays for Pachuca right now, but used to play for Milan, very talented, also attacking midfielder.
Yep.
These are the star names. These are the Mutineers.
Yep.
Because now they have a coach who only had, so he was a technical director, again, Akira Nishino, who the look on his face mostly is that of a disappointed dad.
Yep.
Right? Looks like a disappointed dad to me. Has had, 3 friendlies? He's had the 3 June friendlies, essentially, to prepare this team for World Cup Group H.
Yep.
That's not enough.
It is not. So only in charge for the 2 friendlies, as you said.
3.
And it's worth noting, now 3, you're right.
Sorry. Paraguay today.
When I did my research, that was my mistake. 63-year-old Japanese former international. The key thing for me is had not managed since 2015. So it's not like they brought in this hot commodity to change things around and everybody was really excited by it. They brought in a manager who everybody was like, oh yeah, that guy, he's okay.
He was the technical director.
Yeah.
This would be like if Ernie Stewart took over from the next US coach halfway through.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with that comes, he doesn't necessarily know exactly what he's going to do. So I think you're going to see a lot of changing. I'll get to that in a minute.
His 3 lineups seem to suggest that.
Yep. But first I want to do my nickname, which kind of plays off of what yours was. It's Star Trek 7.
Star Trek 7?
Yes.
What's Star Trek 7?
Do you remember Star Trek 7?
Is it the whale one?
No, that's Star Trek 4. Get out of here. I think. The Voyage Home? Yeah, I think so. Star Trek 7 is Generations. That's the one where you have the cast of Next Generation.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
I was only a kid when that came out. I was pumped for it. But I was watching The Next Generation.
But it was sort of when you knew that older cast is maybe not going to be around much longer, so we want to maybe introduce the younger one, but give them their final send-off. But even the younger one is not that much younger because it's, Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart is in charge.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about this Japan team. It's an old coach brought in to restore the old guard one last time. Average age is 28. The established names are 30 or older, so it's a very veteran team. Promising new faces will round out the squad, but they're not really that new. They're not really that young and fresh. A lot of the young, fresh players were left off.
Sorry, I can't get past the idea that television is club football and movies are international football.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, and then I was just going to add...
had a shower thought.
Yeah, and then like the really maybe exciting young actors who could have been brought in for the new Star Trek Star Trek. Those would be names like Shoya Nakajima, Ritsu Dewan, Takafusa Kubo. All of them not included, not really even in consideration. Many more names on that list of young players that Japanese fans really wanted to see, but won't be seeing.
That's the Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto guys.
Exactly. Well done, Daryl. There we go. Good job. Bringing it home.
So let's talk about
Star Trek 7.
Let's talk about what Japan might actually do. Because
Can I do that by giving you my first prediction?
Yeah,
which is that it will be difficult to nail down exactly what Japan will do in terms of personnel and formations.
I think that's true.
That is my specific prediction.
We've seen 3 different lineups in the first 3 games from Nishino. I've seen a striker and a number 10 attacking midfielder underneath. Against Paraguay, which was today, it was Okazaki, the Leicester striker, with Shinji Kagawa underneath. The previous game against Switzerland, it was Osako, who plays in the Bundesliga, with Keisuke Honda underneath.
Yep.
Which just says to me that I just couldn't guess what it's going to be.
And I think he can't either. So I think he is going to be figuring it out as the tournament progresses, and even in the days leading up to it, the few that are left for them. I think Nishino is going to be adjusting and trying to figure out maybe who fits where. And I think with that then comes that you don't necessarily have that many 100% starters from what I've read and what my research would say. I think it's Kawashima, Hasibi, Yoshida, Nagatomo, and Sakai are your only ones that you could say for certain are going to be starting.
That was mostly the defense you just read out as well, right? One guy I saw start at least twice was Takasha Inui, the number 14. He's going to play on the left flank with his right foot. He plays in Spain, I believe. I think he just got a move to Real Betis. Okay. He just moved to Betis.
He left Ivory.
I saw him against... So that's a move up, right? Is it? I'm not sure. I saw him against Paraguay twice scoring, coming inside with his right foot from the left. So that's got to be my prediction.
Instep finish.
We need to address this. Instep. Where's your instep?
I still say sat at my foot, but I think I say that because I hang out with English people and listen to English pundits.
So I think we figured this out, right? It's a Britishism that the instep is your side foot, whereas I think in some American medical dictionaries, instep is essentially your laces, where your laces go.
I guess so. Although I've asked other people, and they have all pointed to the side of their foot, so maybe that's common misuse, the Mandela effect. Who knows?
Anyway, so right-footed finish from the left from Takashi Inui. Inui. Look out for it.
Look out for it.
Any predictions from you?
So I've got that number one. That it's going to be a lot of change and fluidity. So you can't really look to any nailed on people. With that said, I do think AJ Kawashima will make at least one obvious mistake. Aji Kawashima is their goalkeeper.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen him make mistakes pretty regularly. Against Switzerland, he tried to play the ball out of the back too fast. He basically made a save, ran out, threw it out to his winger, except it was intercepted by Jordan Shaqiri because it was thrown right to Shaqiri, who almost shipped him from a good 30 yards out. Against Ghana, he slipped when he was trying to make a save on Partey's free kick.
These are the recent friendlies.
Yeah, and then he cleared out Boateng coming out, didn't really make a play on the ball, conceded a penalty. I just feels like he is sort of trying to do too much too quickly, and that leads to mistakes. So I think you're going to see him make an obvious mistake.
Give me his name one more time.
It's Eiji Kawashima.
Okay. I'm going to go with another positive prediction. I'm going to say Shinji Kagawa will get an uncredited assist. One of the things I like about Kagawa is he does things like leave the ball. You know what I'm saying? The ball's coming into him and he fakes as if he's going to play it, but then he doesn't touch it, lets it run past him to a teammate. You wouldn't get an assist for that, right? But I
think if I'm thinking of the one that you're thinking of, he did actually get credited with an assist, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah. It won't be an obvious assist.
It is that I've seen him do that specifically in a recent game, but that's also my memory of Kagawa, is that he does a lot of unselfish running off the ball. It could be as simple as he runs to the left and takes a defender with him and opens a gap for, say, Okazaki to run into and score. So an uncredited assist of some sort where he was key to the goal, but he didn't touch the ball and so won't get any credit.
And I would say you could extend it even further too. I've seen him let it go between his legs. And then everybody bites on that one, and then there's a player running through to shoot. He did, and then he has that occasional just barely redirecting the ball. So maybe I would amend it, or just I'll still give you credit for if it's not obvious that he ends up getting the assist. Put it that way.
So that's Shinji Kagawa with an uncredited assist. Can we talk for a second about the Kagawa Keisuke Honda situation?
Sure.
So those are the two star playmakers for Japan. I mentioned they each started a game at number 10. Mm-hmm. Do we think that Nishino plays them both in the opening game?
Yes.
How so?
I think when you're kind of in the air about what to do, it's going to come down to what is the most basic approach, and also what have you been told to do. And I think it's been maybe made clear from the Federation we would like those bigger names to be in there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's...
maybe certain three-stripe sports companies?
Maybe that too. I do like that I somehow always give Nike stick for that and not Adidas. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's worth mentioning that there. But I think then what it's going to come down to for me is that Inoue on the left, cutting inside, shooting with the right. It makes sense to me to have Keisuke Honda on the left, or on the right, cutting in, shooting with his left.
Oh, because he's left-footed, so he plays right wing. Yep. Two inverted wingers, the classic Total Soccer Show system.
And then Kagawa in the middle. I think that is the setup that makes the most sense for those attacking three. Mm-hmm. As I said, I don't think it's Okazaki in front. I think it's Yuya Osako.
Okay, I'm actually not very familiar with Osako's game. I know he plays in the Bundesliga, so he must be quite good. But I even watched footage of him and couldn't get a good read on what type of player he is. Okazaki, I can tell you, is a quite unselfish, hardworking striker who loves to knock it down for other people, but can also finish. The other guy, I do not know his game.
You pretty much just nailed it. He's a 28-year-old forward. He was just signed by Werder Bremen from Cologne. Mm-hmm. So I checked into his stats. They're not good. 4 goals in 25 appearances in the Bundesliga. So at first I started to create this narrative of he must be frustrating. And I watched some footage. I read some previews. No, the answer is he does exactly what Okazaki does. I think he just maybe does it better, which is it's a lot of hold-up, link-up play where he is not necessarily going to be the one who scores, but if you play it into feet and then you run off of him, it's a lot of wall passes and 1-2s and quick little passes through traffic that he sets up opportunities for other players. Also worth noting, he's only 5'10", so it's not like he's going to be in there being this big body in the box. I'm sure he's capable of winning aerial challenges, but I think it's a lot of playing into feet with his back to goal and holding up play.
So if either striker that starts is holding it up and laying it off and setting up goals, Shinji Kagawa's not touching the ball. He's doing a lot of uncredited assists. It really means that a lot of the goal scoring then has to come from Keisuke Honda and from Inoue on the right and the left.
Yes.
So we're looking at hopefully those inverted wingers dribble in field and get some shots away.
Yes, that would be ideal.
In the Japanese system we've just sort of invented for them.
Yep.
We don't know if Nishino listens to this podcast or will come to the same conclusions.
No, we don't. And
we do know that he doesn't listen.
You never know. But I think connecting with what I was saying about Colombia earlier is that also from what I heard about Nishino, it's that he adjusts his game plan to the opponent. And
you said that earlier.
And that's also, some people I think have used that to justify all of the different formations and lineup roster changes he has utilized is him trying to find different teams to fit different systems to suit different opponents, basically. Okay. And so, again, that's why I think you're going to you might see them come out in a back 3 or a back 5 against one team, but then a back 4 against another. But that back 4 could be a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2. I think it could be a lot of different approaches based on the opponent.
Whatever the shape of the defense, it will almost certainly include Maya Yoshida.
Yep.
Maya Yoshida is the Southampton centre-back. I believe he's Japan's sort of most experienced or leader in central defence. I have a very specific prediction about him. You will see him wrap his leg around a striker.
Okay.
So he does a lot of, when there's a defender and a striker and they're both about to challenge for the ball, and there's a bit of jostling and someone's trying to get their head to the ball first or try to step in front of each other to go and meet the ball if it's at mid-height. Yoshida, I guess he has long legs because I see a lot of him, his leg just wraps around the side and comes in front of the striker and gets there first.
Now, my question for you is from what you remember watching him, is that because he's making a really good defensive play, or is it because he's having to catch up and make a play that requires a little bit of a desperate tackle?
No, it's not a desperate tackle because these are more from direct balls that are played in, and most of the time it ends with a defender heading it clear. But if it's low, Yoshida will wrap his leg around to get there first.
And does that mean that he, from what you saw, is trying to make a play on the ball? That if it is, say, maybe a 30-yard ball on the ground, is he trying to step to it and win that one, or is it more so waiting for the opponent to get to it and then putting that tackle?
This is more of a mid-height, bouncing type ball where the ball's in the air and he's wrapping it around the defender's chest or waist to get there first and try and get a foot to it. And the reason I bring it up is I don't know if I like it or not because it's an odd technique.
Yep.
And you can very easily, if there's a really savvy striker.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
So you you could very easily have a very savvy striker that knows what you're doing and could probably spin you and turn you when you try that, right?
But I think also then he had one incident, I can't remember who it was against, but it was almost a penalty because he did that but then ended up hitting the player as the ball was coming in, and that can easily look like too much contact.
It definitely can. It can look like you're taking someone down as well.
But the reason why I was kind of grilling you on him is because...
Grill away, I can take it.
Well, it's because I wanted to make a prediction about him because I kept seeing him kind of too far forward. And I don't mean like getting in the attack. I mean, just occasionally he would be 3 or 4 or 5 yards ahead of the rest of the line.
He likes to go grapple.
But that's a problem.
Japanese pass down.
Because a couple times I saw him then like battle that person in the middle, and that's great. By the way, there you go. You're making pass down happen. But then he would turn and like maybe the ball would go wide, and he would sort of watch that ball go wide. And I believe it was
a big hole in the back where it should be.
Yeah, and I think that's where Switzerland scored from, was just a player unmarked at the back post, and Yoshida was sort of jogging in there like, oh, don't worry, he's wide open. That's not good. So I was just wondering if that's maybe a regular thing, that step.
I'll be interested to hear what Southampton fans have to say. It's been a rough year for Southampton, and
that it has.
As I understand it, Yoshida was not Virgil van Dijk. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
All right. So with Japan, any young players that you see making a big move, or is it all too much Patrick Stewart age players to...
Pretty much that. You've got 2 23-year-olds, one of whom is your third string goalkeeper.
There's no Wesley Crusher?
No. No, there's not. That made me laugh. Ueda, I think is how you pronounce that. Probably not at all. He's a reserve center back. They're both 23. I don't think either one of them is going to get much playing time. Then you've got 2 25-year-olds. After that, it's a lot of 27, 28, 29-year-olds. Okay. So you don't have a lot of young players, but I think the one that I would say maybe has already gotten a move, but maybe will justify that move is Yuya Osako, the 28-year-old forward.
Okay.
Oh, and the other reason to watch him is because just got the move to Werder Bremen, will be playing up top, is a physical hold-up striker. Could be a challenge for Josh Sargent. So we'll see what he can offer, or maybe Josh Sargent can play off of him.
So I was going to ask, what's a reason for US fans to support Japan? It sounds like you should watch them and hope that Osako does not score. Right?
I mean, I don't know if he will score, but that's not necessarily his game. You should hope that maybe
he doesn't assist,
that he suits Josh Sargent's game of the quick combinations running through and getting the shots off. Maybe that benefits Sargent.
Let's hope Okazaki starts. Sure. Because then we can sort of pull for Japan and not worry about what Osako's doing.
Sure.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure of any other reasons to support them. It feels weird supporting Mutineers. Maybe if you just like the idea of Vahid Halilhodžić being furious at home, then you would want Japan to do well, because you know he's going to watch this game.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to see Kagawa and Honda start in the first game, and he's going to throw something at the TV.
Yep. And then I think this is another one of my teams where, again, in-laws that are gerontologists, maybe this is one of, if not, it's not the oldest, but they're definitely one of the oldest teams in this tournament. So maybe if you want to prove that, old dogs can still make it out of the group, this would be a team to cheer for.
Yeah, your peak doesn't end after 30.
It does not.
Right? Yeah, there we go. So Japan could prove that for us.
Sure.
So that was it. Poland, Senegal, Colombia, Japan. This is the toughest.
Consider yourselves previewed.
Yeah, thank you. This is the toughest time I'll ever ask you this. Who's getting out of this group?
I don't know. I think it really... I'll say it again, not to bum everybody out who are Japanese fans. I do not think Japan make it out, but, never count anybody out. And then
Nishino could have some surprise up his sleeve. You don't know.
Yeah. I think I'm erring on the side of Colombia and Poland. I would like to see Senegal do it because I think they're going to be very exciting to watch. But I think if I were going to pick, I'd say Colombia is number 1 going through, and then it's a toss-up between Poland and Senegal. Probably whoever wins that game.
Thank you for braving it. I'm not brave enough to decide who's going through in the groups, but thank you for doing it.
I think because really at the end of the day, why I've come around to your line of thinking. I used to really enjoy brackets and trying to do head-to-head matchups. We just have no idea, and we certainly don't have any idea how it would play out over 3 games for each team. Like if you said who wins Poland-Senegal, I could try to break it down and see what they're going to do and see what I think suits which team best, but over the course of 3 games, anything can happen, and so it is sort of being like, oh, they're definitely going to make it out because they're going to struggle against this general thing is disingenuous at best.
We're more, if you're a new listener, then we are more of the zoom-in show, right?
We try to be.
And that's what we're about to do. So Russia-Saudi Arabia is coming up on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, by the way, on Fox. If you are interested in that game, then on our next show, we're going to do a sort of intro to the World Cup, all the stuff we haven't talked about while we've been focused on the groups. But we're also going to basically tell you, or advise you, I guess, here are the things to watch for in Russia, Saudi Arabia. Then the next day, we'll review that game and we'll preview the next day's games, and then we'll be rolling, and then lots of World Cup content.
Yep. I agree with everything you said, but 10% of my brain was dedicated to thinking about Poland, Senegal. That's 100%. I was like going through well, that could happen, and then this could go there.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that game when it comes.
I'm now edging on the side of Senegal. Weirdly enough, I guess we'll get to it. That's probably the better way to look at it. Let's wait.
So let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today and for previewing groups A through H. We did all 8 of them. Well done.
Right back at you, buddy. I will say one final note on this group is that it only just occurred to me to say that Poland is listed first in the group, Senegal listed second, which means that's the first game of this group. So I would say one of the most important games happens first in Group H.
All right. We'll be watching it just like all the other games.
Listeners,
thank you for listening. Thank you to everybody who has spread the word about the Total Soccer Show. Thank you to everybody who has hit subscribe in Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Google Play or Castbox or whatever podcast player you are using. We really appreciate it. It's goodbye from Taylor and I, but we'll be back tomorrow with our final World Cup preview before it all kicks off.